Berry, crafty work along the baseline.
Patience and understanding of where you are around the rim at all times, impressive.
Hovey is cut off. Bottiger with an aggressive drive. And he's stripped on the way up, and it'll stay with the Huskies.
.451 left. There's a lot of time to get back into this game if you're Hagerty, but you have to execute. You got to get stops on the defensive end. I know that sounds very simple and cliche, but consecutive stops will lead to buckets for you.
There's the lob play that you've mentioned a couple of times. They've yet to convert that play, though Hovey's had a couple of good opportunities. Simpson aggressively playing Doyle, who steps into a 17-footer.
Like to see Doyle get a few more looks in the half court. I think he needs to really step his game up here in the next 420.
14 for Doyle. He averages 18.2 per game.
No need to rush anything. If you're Lake Highland, take your time, run your sets. Use your continuity that's been so successful.
Malcolm Laws, who ended the third quarter with a buzzer beater. Now Berry attacks, got past Torres easily and scored. He's got 27. Hovey the other direction, dribbles into a long two.
Yeah, Hagerty made that, but they're doing exactly what Lake Highland is fine with. If you're going to trade buckets with 3:40 left to play, it's 60-46 right now. Consecutive stops will get you back into the game. That's what your main focus has to be.
Hovey gambled on Denzel Davis. Didn't get the steal. Berry's got it against Torres, elevating from 15.
Yeah, that's such a tough play. That 14, 15-foot jumper off of a pump fake 1-2 dribble jumper. Wow.
Make it 29 for Joel Berry. Hovey at the other end. That should be a block.
Yeah, I mean, and some people may be asking, why is that a block? And you and I both saw it, that he tried to take that charge in the hip. And once the referees see that a play isn't made where you're taking a charge right in your chest, it's never, ever, ever going to go your way.
Timeout for Lake Highland before Logan Hovey shoots free throws. It's a full timeout. Highlanders up 62-46 as we flash back to last year's showdown in O-Town. Hagerty, a huge underdog against nationally ranked Montverde Academy, but the Huskies shocked the Central Florida and national basketball world with an upset against Montverde, 60-52. Hagerty really controlled the game right from the opening tip. Huskies made a couple of runs with Casey Hill leading a charge, but Montverde never stopped Hagerty offensively. The Huskies executed to perfection. There's Cartree Pettis off the feed from Ira Smith. Pettis again finishing there. 60-52 the final. Luke Doyle with 13. Logan Hovey had 10 in that game, but Aaron Bottiger, Ira Smith, Cartree Pettis, all playing college basketball now. A big part of Hagerty's team last year. And I asked Josh Cohn, I said, have there been any carryover from that win? He said, there was a lot of hoopla right after the game, and when we got to the state tournament, it was, this is the team that beat Montverde. But other than that, he says it's largely been forgotten.
Well, you should never harp on a win like that. The best way to learn as a basketball team is through winning. Yeah, it's very difficult to come into practice the next day if you lose a tough game like that and try and get better, because you're thinking about that more than you're thinking about winning. It's a lot of times great competitive players, they hate to lose more than they love to win.
Hovey hits the first of two. He played his freshman year at West Orange, and a rarity in today's basketball world. Didn't play a whole lot of AAU growing up. Cohn's saying that his first real games were as a 10th grader at Hagerty, and he's still kind of learning how to play.
There's no question. Nowadays, if you're not playing AAU basketball during the summer, chances are you wouldn't get recruited, or you won't get recruited as much as you would want.
We've got a stoppage in play as our official Geno Smith is frustrated with the kids running around on the baseline. That is Josh Cohn's 5-year-old son, Asa, who earlier was in our broadcast position hanging out. At the start of the game, he was on the bench with Dad. Now he's roaming around the floor.
He says, I got to do something here to slow this game down for Hagerty.
Josh with 3 kids, Selah, Hannah, and Asa. And occasionally the 3 of them can be seen on the Hagerty bench, hanging out, enjoying the action. And an offensive foul against Lake Highland. A 15-point advantage for the Highlanders as we're under 3 minutes remaining in the game. Going to take a serious run by the Huskies here to get back in it.
There's that flare screen action we were talking about earlier.
Davis pokes it away from Hovey, but it'll stay with the Huskies. Hovey with a nice drive past Davis and a slam.
Wow, that's an impressive move. Good pivot foot action.
Down to 13, but one thing working against the Huskies is that they've only committed 4 team fouls, so still a couple to give to get Lake Highland in the bonus as Barry glides past Brizendine, tipped up and in by Jaron Lewis. Hagerty racing the other way, and Davis rejecting Brizendine. You almost felt like Brizendine had no chance from the moment he caught the ball near the midcourt line.
Well, that, and he just went up with one hand. You know, if you go up with 2 hands, you're just not going to get that play.
Castaneda with a crossover, his shot wildly off target. And a foul against Lake Highland on the rebounding action.
And don't you get the feeling that Hagerty seems to be just trying to force everything in there right now, as opposed of, it's a hard thing to do, is to play calm but play effective at the same time. There's a minute 52 left. You have to have that feeling of desperation right now.
And Hagerty is typically a very efficient offensive team. Up and down their roster, virtually everyone shoots above 50% from the floor. Hovey on the year shoots 65%. So this is a team that typically gets whatever it wants offensively.
And we haven't seen that tonight, and that's largely due to the fact that Lake Highland has really brought the pressure defensively and taken Hagerty a lot out of their sets.
1:40 to go as Barry patiently works on Brizendine, now attacking and wave it off, an offensive foul.
Well, that's another close one there, but let's take a look at it as Joel Barry just blows by, and then that's a pretty decent call.
.90 seconds remaining in the game. Hovey doesn't take the 3, settles for a free throw line jumper that doesn't go, and now the ball loose on the deck, and a tie-up between Barry and Castaneda. Hey, sports fans, what's the best way to keep up with the best in high school sports? Like BHSN HD on Facebook. Bright House Sports Network is your home for high school sports. The arrow favors the Huskies, so Hagerty will retain possession with just a minute 20 remaining. Dr. Phillips and First Academy still to come here at the showdown in O-Town, which has been largely dominated by the private schools. This is a public versus private event. The private schools have won 3 of 4 thus far if you give Lake Highland a win, although Luke Doyle's jumper makes it a little bit closer at 64-52.
Surprising that Hagerty's not really trying to foul or go for a steal. I know it's difficult against Joel Barry right now, but
Brizendine is trying to foul, but Barry's almost too quick for him. We're now under a minute to go.
well, I think Coach Cohn has said not to foul and just go for a steal right now.
A much lower scoring game than it was when these two teams met earlier this year, when it went to overtime in a 98-92 game, and a technical foul has been called against Nick Brizendine. And Josh Cohn will empty the bench.
So I don't think I saw what happened on that play, but
a lot of subs at the table ready to check in. Bright House Sports Network wants to help you pay for college. Log on to bhsn.com to learn more about the David Logan Scholarship. If you excel in athletics and academics, apply now for the David Logan Scholarship. You can do that online at bhsn.com. 10 fresh faces ready to check into this one. Barry leaves with 31 points. A pretty good night for the 6-foot junior guard. It's the 5th time this year that he has gone for 30 or more and above his average of 28.1 points per game.
Doesn't just do it on the offensive end. Not to take away from anything of his incredible 31-point performance, but what he did defensively was absolutely outstanding. The way he'd block shots, lock down his defender. Incredible game by Joel Berry.
8 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Completes Berry's line. Evan Jager's first free throw is no good. Quarterback on Lake Highlands football team. We'll have one more with 33.2 seconds remaining. Torres being harassed by Winston Clayton. And with the win, Lake Highland improves to 12-5. And perhaps more importantly, 8-0 with Joel Berry on the court as Nunkovic hits a 3. And that means this team will be very difficult for the remainder of the season. You have to consider them the odds-on favorite to play in the 4A state championship game.
Yeah, there's no question. I think they're just they're an outstanding team. And you take a look at Joel Berry again, with him leading the way. First sophomore to be named Florida's Mr. Basketball, gold medal in the U.S. 1,700 teams, getting 23 a game. He is playing at a different level than everybody else right now, and it's showing. But the best thing about this Lake Highland team is that if he's missing shots, they still have 2 or 3 more options to play off of him.
And Denzel Davis has not scored a whole lot here in the second half, but hit 3 threes in the first half that helped Lake Highland build a big lead that Hagerty just was never able to recover from. And as the buzzer sounds, Lake Highland gets an impressive win here. The 4A runner-up from a year ago beats last year's 8A runner-up. Lake Highland, a 68-55 victory over Hagerty, with Joel Berry leading the way. A dominant performance from the Highlanders, really from the middle of the first quarter on. They dominated the game.
Yeah, no question. Once Joel Berry got going, the rest of the team kind of fed off that. They had a great outside shooting performance by Davis, but their defensive effort in the half court and in the full court really changed the momentum, changed the flow of the game. Hagerty could never really get into a half court set the way they wanted to. Lake Highland was the more aggressive team. They played with a fire and a passion that leads you into the playoffs.
Hagerty drops to 13-4, but this is still a team that's capable of making a run in the 8A playoffs.
There's no question. I think my favorite thing about this team is that they didn't show any quit. You'd like to see them execute a little bit better. They didn't hit shots tonight, but we know, and the Orlando area knows, that this Hagerty team, when they're making shots, can beat anybody.
Logan Hovey scores 17. Luke Doyle had 16, but Joel Berry was simply too much tonight. He has 31 points as Lake Highland rolls to a 68-55 victory. For our entire hardworking Bright House Sports Network crew, producer Jeremy Swenson, director Dan Robinson, and my broadcast partner Mike O'Donnell, this is Austin Lyons saying good night from OCP, where Lake Highland beats Hagerty.